Hi Desmond. Purpose of this video is just to give you a bit of an overview of the TEXA diagnostics, particularly for the frontline vehicles you have, but also well, just focusing on a couple of areas that I think it's going to be a benefit, certainly on the AdBlue SCR systems. As you can see, TEXA's in every environment that there is. What we'll do, we'll head into truck to begin with. Now within truck, we've got 6 categories: truck, bus and coach, semi-trailers and trailers, light trucks, i.e. vans, powertrain, which will have your comfort systems, your engine systems, your transmission systems and braking. We'll just head back out of that for the minute. Also small utility trucks, so anything like road sweepers, that type of thing. Now what we'll do, we'll head into truck. I'd like to just go to the Scania first. As you can see, there's an A to Z list of every make that we do. I'll scroll down slowly. I'll be honest, I don't think there's a manufacturer out there that isn't in here. Obviously there's different levels of coverage for each depending on the relationship TEXA has with them. But what I will say is TEXA does, all the information that's in the system is bona fide, certified, and bought from the manufacturer themselves. It's not copies of copies. So we'll scroll down and we'll get to Scania. So we'll click into Scania, and again what you're given is a model list. Now I'm pretty certain you're going to have P series Scanias. I could be wrong. So what we'll do, we'll just pick one of the 2013 onwards model. Okay, so what that then takes us into is the main self-diagnosis screen. Now what you'll see flashing is a global system scan. Now what we can do with the TEXA and obviously most diagnostic tools, but the CAN bus systems, we can scan every ECU on the vehicle. I'm sure you're well aware that you might think the problem's on one ECU, but in fact it's something else that's causing it. So we would always suggest doing a global scan. Alternatively, if you're confident you know which system you're looking at, we can then go in by individual system. So if we have a look down here, we've got diesel injection, i.e. engine, ABS, ADAS. This is to do with your cameras, radars, that type of thing. It's all the sort of new technology that's coming out. Air conditioning, airbag, alarm. You can see as I scroll down there's pretty much every system. Now these are all the systems that could be on the vehicle. Now it's not necessarily when we plug in all of the, when you've had the vehicles built, that they will have every one of these systems, but this is what it is capable of finding. So what we'll do, we'll just head back up. What we've also got here is actions on the vehicle. So it's split down into vehicle maintenance, adjustments and coding, activations, and again ADAS or advanced driver assistance systems. So to give you an idea, within the vehicle maintenance, we'll click through to that. Now within here there's a lot of sort of standard resets that you can do. So we've got air measuring device reset, clutch adaptation, particular filter regeneration, service interval resets, just down onto the ride height, suspension. Again, we can calibrate the suspension, the level sensors and the pressure sensors, and there's also a speed, well, we can look at the speed limiter reading, can't necessarily adjust it. So those are some of the more basic ones. We'll just click back, and we'll go to activations. Now these are all the tests that you can have the TEXA perform on the vehicle, just to help your diagnosis. So for example, on the engine, you can see there's a multitude of tests that you're going to be able to carry out. Bear in mind this is dependent on the ECU, so again we're looking at all the possible tests that we can do, but like I said, until we plug in, there might be a portion of those we can't do. But like I said, Scania were pretty good, obviously being European. So we've got things like cylinder balancing, cylinder performance tests, condition test on the variable geometry turbocharger. So again, there's the ability, we'll go into it later, but certainly reprogramming new turbochargers and so on. We'll head down here again into the SCR system, which I know you said was quite important. So you can see we've got AdBlue DOSA leak tests. We can test the sensors. We can do dosing unit tests. There's a lot of tests that you can carry out to try and whittle down the options on, where to start, basically, to clear out those AdBlue faults. So there's a lot in there that you can do, and it goes on down to transmission as well. So again, we can run actuator tests, check clutch disc wear. I'm just scrolling down slowly so you can see the sort of level of capability. Now, what I'm not going to do is go through every single one, because it's one of those things. But the purpose of this is just to show you what, the extent that we can go to with the retarder, for example. Again, we can do some bits and pieces on there on the proportional valves. So yeah, we'll head back up. Compressed air system as well. Again, compressor and regeneration valve. On some of them also, we're going to be able to reset the dryers as well. So what we'll do, we'll just head back up to where it gets a bit more involved, which is the adjustments and coding. So this is where you can actually make changes to the parameters and the settings within the vehicle. So to give you an idea, we'll go to the SCR again. So again, you've got DPF regeneration and filter learned values. Go back up to the compressed air system. So initialization after replacing APS control unit, so that's possible. Engine, again, we've got injector adaptation settings, EGR, deletion of fault codes, injector coding, again, reset of the calibration values on the turbos, down to ride height again. So some of these are similar to the test that we carried out, but these are the actual settings that you're going to be able to change. So again, if you're putting a new clutch in, there's going to be the ability to program those. And again, I'll just scroll down slowly. Again, you can see the level that you can get to. So you see we've got some shift adaptive parameters resetting, and so on. So I'll just scroll back up. Just go back to the main page again. Just on the left hand side here, what's important I wanted to show you was, one, we have wiring diagrams on the majority of vehicles in the system. We've also got technical data sheets, and we've also got technical data and checks. Now this is basically your auto data for truck. So it's all the mechanical data for the particular vehicle. We find this is hugely popular because it just negates the need to try and speak to the dealer to try and get the information. So we'll just let this load up. There is obviously a selection to make depending on axle configurations, year, and so on. So we'll just pick one at random just to give you a general idea. So you can see here we've got general data. So this is to give you an idea. We've got torque, valves, inlet play, outlet play, compression ratios. So quite a general selection of info there. But what we've also got down here is things like engine tightening torques. You can see all the way down all of those tightening torques. Now this is all included within your, or the kit that we would supply. So you can see I'll go a little bit slowly so you can get an idea. Again, there's a lot of information in there. We head back. Again, we've got down to consumables, so particular types of oil, fill levels, not just for the engine, but for transmission or gearbox. What else have we got here? Manual gearbox, yeah. Automatic gearbox oil, again, it's telling you exactly the spec. I'm going a little bit quicker here just to get down to the bottom. So clutch filling, axle filling. I mean, we really do go into an extensive, there's just an extensive amount of information in here to help with the vehicles that you have. I mean, even down to things like change intervals, which will help in your sort of preventative maintenance, and even down to things like lighting. You know, if there's a particular bulb you want to be looking at, again, we've got that information in there. Now we'll just come back out of that. What I'd like to show you next is the technical data. So these will be dependent on the vehicle, dependent on the system, but you can see for this particular system there's data sheets on the exhaust gas treatment. We'll have a look down here, details on the EBS. So again, you've got certainly helpful on the Norbrem system, axle numbering, system cards, system restore, bulletins, technical data sheets, calibrations, this type of thing that again you might not have access to. So we'll click on one of these, for example. So basically it gives an introduction, explains about the manual reset on this particular one I've picked, and then takes you through the procedure as to what you need to do. Now there's many more of these. As you can see, for each system we've got data sheets in there, problems and resetting the ABS unit. So yeah, there's a lot there. Again, on the ABS system, WABCO, manual reset again. You've also got vehicle sheets. Now these are a bit more generic, but again, just information regarding pollutant levels, OBD connection problems, construction of trailer sockets, for example, and again, there's quite a large amount of information, pictures, schematics, again, all sorts of bits and pieces for you to look into. I'm going through this quite quickly, but it's just like I said, to give you a bit of an overview. Wiring diagrams is the other important one. Again, we've got wiring diagrams on all these systems. So again, we'll click on the engine. We'll pick one at random. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure what you have. So these are all interactive wiring diagrams made by Texa, listing out all the components. You can see as I move the cursor along, there's a lot of connection information there. There's also location information. So for example, the big item in the middle, the pink item, is the ECU, so we can click on that, and to give you an idea, straight away we've got pin configuration. Now I'm sure you're aware every manufacturer is different, so this at least gives you a guide as to where to pin back, or where everything pins back on the ECU. So again, you can highlight each item and it will tell you exactly what it is, but it will also tell you if we've got an image, or if, for example, we've got a data card or something of more interest. So we'll click on the legend up here. Now, rather than clicking through as I was doing just then, we can scroll down and look at all the items in this particular diagram. Now I'll just click over to this one and do the same on here for the legend. So again, for example, the high pressure fuel sensor, we can click on that. It'll take us to the item on the wiring diagram. We can then look at an image, which again is helpful finding it in the first place. It doesn't seem to be any data cards on these particular ones, but a lot of them will give you generic component check sheets, basically continuity checking, resistance checking, that type of thing. What we've also got, like I said, is the connection information. So if you are, for example, clicking across an item and you want to see what connects to what on the left hand side here, it'll then give you detail as to what is connected in that particular system area. So again, we've got component location. This would come up if it doesn't already give you a component location. For example, there on the engine block left side top part, it also shows you with a little red dot as to where that component is. So again, just making it easier for you. Now what we will do on this, we will just go, basically because I have a demonstration kit, I can pretend to be talking to a vehicle. So I'll just take us into demo diagnosis, and what we'll do is we'll sort of look in this Scania to give you a good overview. Then what we'll do, we'll just go through the other engines and transmissions that you've got, in the fleet. I won't go into as much detail, but at least you can see again the fact that it's in the system and what we've got on each. So this is a perfect introduction. This is the screen you'll always be taken to when you start communicating with the vehicle. Straight into the faults. Now this, like I said, again, it's populated with a demonstration fault. Now these are memory faults. Normally it'll be red if there's an active fault, but what's good is on a couple of these we can actually see that we've got, if you look in the bottom right hand corner, there's some other icons that have been blued rather than greyed out. So for example, on this, the exhaust gas after treatment, you can double click that and it will normally give me a bit more information. It hasn't, so what we'll do, we'll just click on the question mark here. So basically it will say major functional fault in the SCR system. So it will give you a bit of an explanation as to why that fault has occurred. So these question marks are throughout the software. They're constantly being updated. Basically what they're calling it is guided diagnostics, so it sort of helps your technicians know what to do next. The other side of it is this 1, 2, 3 with a snowflake, and you can see it's coming up saying freeze frame. So we click on that, and what that does, particularly Euro 6, that will tell you exactly what was going on with the engine at the time that fault occurred. So again, it helps you understand what was going on, so you know what to start testing for. So we'll just head back on there. Just on this top one at the moment, on the other one we've got the battery voltage. Again, it's a memory fault, so something that's occurred in the past that we can usually clear out. But what's happened is it has lit up a component wiring diagram. So what we can then do is click on that, choose the system that we know it's on, and that will then take us directly to that component on the wiring diagram. Start flashing away and thinking, right, okay, that's where we need to start doing our investigation. So that won't be on everything, but if, like I said, there's a component on the wiring diagram within that system relating to that fault, it will then appear. Just on the left hand side here, we've got access to the technical documents. So again, the system sheets, vehicle sheets and wiring diagrams that are all part of this vehicle. We can obviously try and erase them here. We can save that information. You can create there's a database within the Texa where you can record what was happening with your vehicles throughout the age, so you can build up a history of every time that you plug in. You can also print that information. Just a few other things on here. We've got ECU information. We'll always be able to, it will always extract that information from the ECU. So again, you can keep record of those details. Just going back, the activations and settings, these are the things that we looked at initially in the shortcuts. So you can see, for example, check of the cooling fan clutch. Now this has a question mark, so basically what this will do will tell you what the purpose of the test is, what values you're potentially looking for, and the process of doing or carrying out the test. In a sort of similar vein with the settings, again, you've got a lot of settings in there that we can do. Injector coding, for example, we click on there, and again, it will give you details of what that's going to do. So we'll click on that. So importantly, we've got live data. So this is, again, like I said, it's a demonstration, so it's just populating this with some fictitious amounts, but you can see we've got all the, well, we've got 82 sensors on this particular one, so I can sort of scroll down as slowly as possible. You can see these populate as you go. Each one has a figure, it also has a unit of measure, and again, for example, on this one we can click that, and if it's got a question mark, it can then tell you what that turbine speed should be. I mean, a lot of the time it's all very well seeing a reading, but unless you know what it should be, you're not 100% sure. So you can see as we scroll down, there's a lot of information there. Just on the going along the bottom line, we've got something called dashboard mode. So this is quite a nice feature. So basically it puts that information that you've got from those sensors into a more pictorial format, so basically a format you and your technicians can understand. So we'll just click through. This would all be live data. that you'll be able to read and understand the system better. So again, we can see EGR valve position, boost pressure, air boost, boost air temperature, and so on. So it's a really nice feature. It is on a lot of the later vehicles. They're slowly putting it into the older ones. The other ability we've got is to filter that list, which is again quite useful. So we can create a much smaller list, and again with that list we can then make a recording. So you've got up to a 30-minute record on however many sensors you wish to look at. So I can, and again, whatever you do record will be saved against that vehicle, so you can then look back 6 months down the line, a year down the line, and you can see what that recording was doing and analyze it at your leisure. So again, that's just a few other options on there. Now that's the pretty much the bones of the system when it comes to its working. Obviously there's a lot more to look at, but hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea as to how the system works. What we'll do, we'll just disconnect from that, and what I'd like to do is we'll flick back to diagnosis and we'll head to powertrain, because I know obviously we talked about Detroit diesel engines. So if we click through here into engine, we've got Detroit, obviously Cummins as well, but Detroit, and you can see as we scroll down there's all the other options. Now this is obviously for bespoke bus coach and special vehicles like your fire engines. So we can click into the Detroit, and again you can see on the left hand side we've got wiring diagrams. The only system obviously, because it's only the engine, but we can certainly communicate that and with that, and it'll just depend obviously which ECU and emission we're looking at, Euro 4, Euro 5 or 5 or 6. So again, on the adjustments and coding, you can see we've got the SCR after treatment system, so there's a lot of well, obviously we can regen the system. The other side of it was obviously Cummins. We were talking about in a similar vein, exactly the same. Technical data sheets, you've got a few, obviously compressed natural gas, if you did have, I don't think you do, but that's again there. And again, adjustments and coding, again more SCR abilities there, or DEF depending on the manufacturer. Engine, again there's all sorts of after treatment, NOx resets. Yeah, you can see I'm going down this a little bit quicker than usual, but obviously you've got writing of VIN numbers. That's something we can do. We can exchange old to new. If you're exchanging ECUs, we can keep the information within the system and paste it back into the new unit as it's replaced, and so on. I mean, that keeps on going. And again, for the transmissions, I think it was Allison that we were looking at. So again, wiring diagrams, technical data sheets, and so on, the same format for everything basically. So that's pretty much the truck side of things. Now what I will do is just head to car, because obviously I know we spoke about some of the cars that you've got within the fleet. So again, you can see we've got an A to Z list of pretty much every vehicle from around the planet, all the way down. You can see pretty much everything is covered. So in a similar vein, yeah, we'd be able to look at each car and talk to them, but also we've got pass-through ability. So basically, if there are certain things that the manufacturer will let you do, but you have to subscribe to their website, the system is pass-through enabled, so all of those programming abilities can be carried out through the Texa. So again, we can do all that. So yeah, like I said, that's a bit of a whistle stop. And again, sorry, just light truck, obviously vans, Peugeot partners, all your small trucks down to Great Wall, all the Chinese, Korean, Japanese, everything's in there. We've got all the South American spec vehicles in there as well. It's pretty comprehensive. So Just go to the diagnosis. So yeah, that's pretty much the sort of bones of it. Like I said, certainly on the frontline vehicles, the Scanias, the Detroit diesels and so on, something we can certainly do very well. There's a lot of other information Texer-wise I could explain to you, but I think at this stage it's just giving you an idea as to what it's capable of. So okay,